Lawson, and I hope you're having a good week. Imagine you live on an isolated farm and you find footprints leading to your house but none ever leaving. Cold cases like the Hinderkopf murder continue to fascinate people with it being unsolved after 100 years. I have done research on this using historical and criminal sources discussing what happened the day of the murder and modern theories. First, I will tell you a little bit about the background, then I will tell you what happened, and lastly, I will tell you the modern theories. To understand why it's such a mystery, we need to look at the background of the farm. Understanding the background explains why it is so mysterious. The Hinterkaifeck farm was a small farm built in 1983 in Bavaria, Germany. According to the truth,
It's 1963.
Okay, 1863.
1863.
I don't know what I
She
said.
said 83.
Okay.
I said 19.
Also, when you mess up, don't roll your eyes. you can play it off as long as you don't roll your eyes. I know. All right, go.
To understand why it's such a mystery, we must look at the background of the farm. Understanding the background explains why it is so mysterious. The Hinterkaifeck farm was a small, isolated farm built in Bavaria, Germany, 43 miles from Munich, Germany. It was also built in 1863. According to True Crime Database, the Hinterkaifeck homestead included Andreas Gruber, Cecilia Gruber, Victoria Gabriel, Cecilia Gabriel, and Joseph Gabriel, and their maid, Maria Baumgartner. Several odd things happened before the attack. The footprints in the snow leading to the house, noise in the attic that the previous maid had mentioned, and a missing key. A key went missing from the farm. On March 31st, 1922, the six people living on a Hinterkaifeck farm were murdered. On April 4th, 1922, Warren On April 4th, 1922, Lawrence and his friend found everyone on the house that day.
Start that one over.
They were in the house, not on the
Oh,
house.
so start that one over.
On April 4th, 1922, Lawrence and his friend found Andreas, Victoria, Cecilia, and the children and the maid all in the house, dead. That was violent. What's the better word for that?
Deceased.
Alright.
Yeah, let's go with this.
What?
Murdered? Were they murdered?
Yeah.
Murdered works too. I think
Yeah,
it was a
you could
murder.
do murder. Yeah.
On April 4th, 1922, Lawrence and his friend found Andreas, Victoria, Cecilia, the children, and the maid murdered in the house. After investigating, they found an iron band in the hayloft and later on found the mattox that was used for the blunt force trauma. There were numerous suspects, but we are going to look at the main three. The first being Carl Gabriel. He was Victoria's late husband, but was suspected to be
What was he suspected for?
I gotta get to that. I messed up because he won't. There are numerous suspects, but we are going to look at the main three. Carl Gabriel was the first, which was Victoria's late husband. He was known to have passed in France in 1914, but several people had claimed that they had seen him alive since then. Lauren Schlittenbauer, a neighbor of the Hinterfoot farm, was another suspect. What do I do?
Okay, start
I
this.
took too
start
long.
this. Going to start this little slide there over. Let's see, a little smoother.
Looking at you like I got it.
There are numerous suspects of the murder. The first being Carl Gabriel, which was Victoria's late husband. He was known to have died in France in 1914, but several people had claimed to have seen him alive since then. The second suspect is Lauren
Schlittenbauer.
You did the first part a lot better there, though.
Yes.
So yeah, rolling from there.
There's numerous suspects.
Go play.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna shoot him away.
There's numerous suspects, but we're only going to look at the main three. The first one being Carl Gabriel. He was Victoria's late husband, but supposedly had died in France in 1914. But several people had claimed to have seen him alive since then. The second suspect is Lauren
You're just gonna have to say it as best you can and go from it there.
Schlitt and Bauer. Schlitt and Bauer.
Schlittenbauer.
There you
That
go.
sounds fine, yeah.
That sounds good.
Hold on, I have to tell you. There was numerous suspects, but we're only going to look at the main three. The first being Carl Gabriel, which was Victoria's late husband. He was known to have died in France in 1914, but several people had claimed to have seen him alive since then. The second suspect is Lauren Schlittenbauer.
Could have kept going.
I know, but my face said everything.
But you literally got his name perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was literally
perfect.
perfect.
And you had the first part really good that time too. So try one more time, but I would just
See?
keep rolling
So
with
you
it.
should have just kept on going because you said it perfectly.
There's numerous suspects, but we're only going to look at the first three. The first being Carl Gabriel, which was Victoria's late husband. He was known to have died in France in 1914, but several people had seen him alive since then. The second suspect is Lauren Schlittenbauer. He was very suspicious when they found out he knew comments that no one else but a murderer would have known. He also had a key which was suspected to be the missing key from the farm. The last suspect is Andreas Gruber, the owner and father. Victoria had been beaten to death, and the father had been known for abusing his children. Cecilia had been found partially unclothed, assuming there was attempted rape, and he had been to prison several times with those charges. This case was never solved because none of the evidence narrowed down who it could have been. There were several odd clues during the investigation. The killer had stayed in the house, and we think that because the kitchen had been used, there was smoke coming from the chimney. The calendar had been changed from May to April. All the animals were cared for. There are two modern theories. The first being a study a group of students had done in 2007. They have never released who they believe it could have been, but everyone suspects it was Lauren Schlittenbauer. Another modern theory is Bill James, the author of The Man from the Train. Bill had believed the killer was Paul Mueller, a German immigrant. Mueller had been been charged with murders from all around. All the clues lead the same. After learning these strange events surrounding the murder, a little bit about the suspects, and all the weird investigations, the case becomes even more unsettling. The Hinderford case continues to intrigue people by the strange events all the suspects and lack of evidence was solved. More than 100 years later, the mystery is still unsolved. Will we ever know who really committed the Hinderford murder? More than a century later, the Hinderford murder still haunts criminal history. Thank you. Are there any questions?
How many kids were there?
Andreas had one and she had two.
Okay. And then how long were they in that house? With somebody being in there supposedly.
We don't actually know. The previous maid had left about a year before because she heard noise in the attic, but no, every time someone went up there, no one found anything.
But she was killed in a fire, or in it too.
That maid left, and the other one, her sister dropped her off that morning, and she was murdered that night.
No.
She was murdered too.
No, wait. You said one of the suspects was the dad,
Mhm.
but was he murdered as well, or no?
Everyone thinks that Warren Swinburne had come over to see Victoria, which they had been going out, and he was the only one alive, so he murdered him too.
That's fair. Thank you.
That was interesting.
So in all that, because you ended up doing really good there at the end, the only thing I caught you on in all that was you said the calendar had been changed from May to April. Instead of April.
Yeah, but she corrected herself.
No,
No, she said the same thing twice.
she said it
Oh.
twice.
I thought I said
You said from May to April instead of April to May.
February, March, April. Oh, it's supposed to be March to April.
Oh well. Oh well. No, most people probably wouldn't catch on to that. That's just something we need. Yeah, I caught on to.
Silly.
You see her literally trying to
But
shove
no,
it into
you
my
started
mouth.
saying the names and stuff really good there the last time. And you did better.
I did this whole paragraph in 2 sentences.
You did better when you would like. So when you got nervous, you could tell you'd look at the screen and you did just fine. Once you took your eyes off of us and looked there for a second, you were fine.
And you did really well with the questions.
Yes.
Because you were actually interested
I'm
in
not
it.
saying you actually.
Yeah, I had to take out like a lot of the information.
Yeah, that's why I figured if we asked some questions, at least it would add on to what you're doing, and kind of give you some bonus points maybe.
Alright.
Yeah, right.
So I think
Now, there you go, Crystal.
We shall see.
I think that was better in your hush house one.
Oh yeah.
A lot better.
That was good. I liked it.
That
Anthony,
was
tell him to get out of
interesting.
the barn. Get out of the
All
barn.
the ones I do good at.
Hey, get out of the
Well, let's
barn.
see you get kids pizza and chips.
My
Tell
phone
him,
had a
Anthony.
whole mental breakdown in front of the beaker. Love
He
it.
went to sleep finally. One of those clips, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it or not. You were talking and he literally
You're
stood up
so
straight into my
stupid.
hand, and I just had to catch it and not say nothing or move.
I mean, I didn't know
I
this.
grabbed the
They're gonna have a video of my child trying to viciously shove Funyuns into my mouth.
They can only see your head.
Oh good. He was vicious and like trying to jam it in there.
Oh boy, that's funny. Oh, I'm sorry.
It was
She has been excited doing like research and stuff on this one.
I got spring break. I was trying to I did all the during spring break because I was very interested.
You already had your break.
You still eating your snack?
No.
I gotta make some bread.
Hold on.
For college.
It's a weird time. Everybody else does Easter.
So that's the thing. That's what I said. Like it's all
Gotta
different.
hit people with noodles.
Who did?
You want to just give me that?